Hi everybody, my presentation is called Fairness in Education. It's leveraging the symbolic frame that we talk about in the Bowman and Deal book to address the issue of disproportionality. It's a further exploration of the equity through culture, values, and shared meaning of our classrooms. This presentation also focuses on how addressing disproportionality in our educational settings makes the symbolic frame come to life, with the focus on the culture, the rituals, and the shared meanings to confront the disproportionalities that we see in our learning environments. So what is disproportionality and what happens and how does it occur? It manifests primarily in two different ways. It is an underrepresentation in some areas and it's an overrepresentation in other areas. Students are typically, Black students in general, specifically, are typically overrepresented in the areas of special education and then underrepresented in terms of gifted education. So, disproportionality also highlights the educational highlights of our systemic barriers that are in place that affect these marginalized groups. And then they require a different approach to make sure those students are having the same inclusive and equitable learning environments. What are some of the root causes that we can look at? First one is systemic inequalities. The second one is implicit biases. And the third is cultural misunderstandings. Now, when we talk about systemic inequalities, we talk about how throughout the course of a child's education, the things that are the subtle things that are in place that makes it difficult for the student to matriculate positively through their academic career. When we talk about cultural misunderstandings, we talk about things like different cultures in the classroom not being well perceived from teachers or other peers, and the student may be outcast or singled out because of it. They may dress a certain way. They may talk a certain way. They may come from, their skin color might be different. These cultural misunderstandings are typically the root causes of why we have disproportionality in our schools. Some examples of our symbolic practices that we have in our school systems. We can do these things. The culturally responsive teaching, or CRT. This approach values the diverse cultures that we have inside of our classroom and makes all of our students feel like they are welcome, that they're included, and they're understood in the environments that we teach in. Inclusive practices are also a part of culturally responsive teaching. And these focus on how we can take that student's culture and integrate it inside of our classrooms and make it beneficial. It keeps the student engaged and it keeps the student ready and willing to learn. Cultural celebrations and rituals could include just acknowledging other cultures in our room. So you may have some students who may typically present as Black, but they may be Jamaican, or they may be Haitian. Or you might have students that present as white, but they may be Russian. You may have some students that present with a brown skin, but they are Mexican or they are Korean. So just being aware and acknowledging these things and celebrating those things as educators can help our students really be involved in our environments and really connect to us and feel like they have a sense of belonging. How do we include our leadership in parts of these symbolic actions? We can role model these inclusive behaviors. We can also advocate for equity through rituals and shared values. We can just get into action. Make sure that we are actually moving towards not just talking about the nuances of disproportionality, but actually having a plan of action that allows us to carry out the things that we put in place. The law of respect for Maxwell 2007 says that we earn trust by committing to equity. So if we put the trust in, if we honor our students by putting in those culturally responsive teachings and trainings, then we earn their trust and we also build them up with confidence, and we also are able to commit to every student being able to learn. So we're excited about what we're going to do. We have this plan of action. We are ready to hit the ground running, but we all know that we face challenges and barriers to whatever goals that we have. So the same is here when we talk about fairness in education. We have some challenges to that symbolic leadership. There's a risk of performative inclusivity. This means that we're just doing it just because. And when we do it just because, just to be doing it, our children pick up on that. Cultural incompetency among educators. This is goes back to some of the cultural responsiveness. We must have some cultural competency amongst our educators. We have to know that the different environments that are in our classrooms are all important, and we have to make sure that we include those in order to include and to pull our students into our learning. What are the solutions that we have that we can look at? Continuous professional development. We can, as educators, we know that we are perpetual students. So we can always look for opportunities to get training, to be a part of training, to create training for other teachers in our district to be able to further reach our students. If we're all working together towards one great goal, which is equity in and fairness in education, this piece right here will be very important. That professional development that we do on the academic side must move to some of that cultural awareness and development on this side of the disproportionality issue. We need to align our policies with inclusive values. That means that not only are we talking about equity, we're talking about equality. Equity and equality are two different things. Equality means that everybody gets something. That's like the trophies at the rec department. Everybody gets a trophy because you made it to the rest of the season. But in equality, that means that everybody gets what they deserve. If one student deserves the huge trophy, then give them the huge trophy and let them go. But that doesn't mean that everybody doesn't get a trophy. We just get smaller trophies. It's individualized. It's what that student actually needs. And so our students who are in the disproportionality really need a little bit more individualized and inclusive policy to help them matriculate through the academic setting. What are some of the key takeaways that we have? The symbolic frame, it integrates our equity through culture and through shared meaning. Another key takeaway is leadership and culturally responsive practices are central to addressing the issue of disproportionality. We must, from head all the way down, we have to address these issues and be culturally responsible to our students in order to make coming to school, learning in our environments, equitable to all students. Here's our call to action. We are going to embed that inclusivity in our daily school culture, not just during special events. Even though we may have some multicultural events, it's not just on that one day or in that 1 month. It's every single day. We're acknowledging our students, we're acknowledging their differences, and we're celebrating those things. Commitment to systemic change for a lasting impact. Again, it goes back to not just special events, it goes back to every single day. We have to be very, very, very committed to every single day changing the fact that we want a lasting impact. In order to do that, we have to have equity through culture and shared meaning, and also leadership and culturally responsive practices. One final reminder here. Together we can achieve this. These are not unattainable goals. But if we focus on creating classrooms that are culturally inclusive and respectful of all of our students, that empowers us for a lifetime. And it also empowers our learners for a lifetime.